I could cut me out, but I really can't, so I'll read this and ask me if you need any clarification. This is the question. There is a section of the disability community that also has complex medical needs. Many are cared for by ageing parents and are at risk of entering nursing home once these parents cannot care for them. If elected to state parliament, what would you do to bring a young care style facility staffed by RNs and disability support workers to Toowoomba to meet this obvious need in the Toowoomba community, given that no such facility exists for such high need disability clients? I should add an answer of it's an NDIS federal responsibility isn't good enough, as NDIS sees RN staffed facilities as a state responsibility and the state sees it as an NDIS responsibility, and there is a game of hot potato going on between the two levels of government that is making these type of facilities hard to achieve on the ground. The question is, what will you do?
Sounds like that question was described for me. Let me tell you something. People with disabilities are being used as a political football, and that has to stop right now. We are going to also going to legalise medicinal cannabis because there are people in this community that need it. They need it. When it comes down to the question, we need to get the younger people with a disability out of aged care facilities because they're not mingling with their own people. They're not mingling with the people that are their own age, and it's a challenge to them. So what will I do? I will work very closely with the disability sector to ensure that there's opportunities for people, young people with disability, to be able to live in housing that suits their needs.
Thanks, Paul. Now you don't need to stand up. You can stay sitting down if that's okay, if you're comfortable to.
I'm happy to do it.
Yep, I think just sit down, be relaxed.
Thank you. Look, it is incredibly complex, and the NDIS, I think, is a great opportunity for our nation to make sure that we look after people who find themselves in unfortunate circumstances through no fault of their own, whether it be through birth or through an accident. A few years ago, I broke my neck in a body surfing accident, and I found myself quadriplegic for a number of days. And you have to ask yourself the question, you know, what will happen into the future financially for you? Now, fortunately, I was very blessed that my neck was fixable and some very clever medical work, and here I am today. But what that gives me is a glimpse through a window of a life that I could have had. And from my point of view, I will fight to make sure that the NDIS and the state government manage to work together in all of the areas. Now, that is not going to happen. I'd love to tell you that there's a solution waiting. That is not going to happen immediately. I think there is a bright future. I think it is going to take a number of years as we transition through the NDIS process from state support. What I will do is be a strong advocate for my community and for anybody in my community who needs the support to find a different solution to the one in front of them.
Thank you. Thanks, Josie.
It's actually a great question, and I actually have a lot of experience in this space. I've actually worked with a not-for-profit aged care home out at Pittsworth for a while, and they do amazing things out there, and it was a question that was actually addressed numerous times because there were many families with children with disabilities who were aged, and there was a real need in that space for that to happen. Sometimes the trick is not so much about funding, but how we can actually get organisations to change the way they do things too. You need a little bit of funding, but sometimes it's not as big as you need to make a real difference to individuals. An organisation like Barabara Living out at Pittsworth is the perfect example of an organisation who could very easily look at how they actually switched that around with just, you know, staffing costs of 1 or 2 people additionally to what they actually had as an existing model. So, and they are one of the most innovative, just so you know, aged care homes in all of Queensland, and have actually now won numerous awards. They run a program for Montessori for dementia, which is an outstanding program and the only one of its type in Queensland, and they're training people all over Australia now. So the trick really is, we need to look at the existing facilities we have and how do we enable those organisations to create a space that's suitable, because parents don't want to be separated from their children either, and the children don't want to be separated from their parents. So sometimes it's a matter of using the existing facilities we've actually got, but creating the environment that we need for each of those people within that facility. And I don't think it's going to cost as much money as the parties think the big major parties think it will. Yet